Thank you, Jen. Yes, maybe I'll start. We spoke about the power of empowering people who are on the front line, right? Yeah. Next time, I'm going to make sure that we don't set people like Miles in front of us, right? That is something I can control inside of OpenText, and that will not happen again. Anyways, colleagues, Jen, thank you so much. She mentioned that I'm standing between you and lunch. And look, I think my role today, maybe let me rather explain who I am inside of OpenText, right? Yeah. Inside of OpenText, I take care of the pre-sales division. It's also called solution consulting. And our job, really, I always look at myself as an agent who's standing between the customers who face a lot of pain, usually. They've got challenges, usually. And our job is to articulate that, find the solutions inside of usually the OpenText armory of tools, but also it's not uncommon to go and venture outside, involve our partners, our SIs around the room who help us solve best as we can the challenges for the customers. That's basically what I do. Solution consulting. We provide a solution. So in my talk today, I'm not going to be so big on slides, right? It's all about showing you, maybe giving you a teaser of what's happening in the breakout rooms, because everything we've been talking about, AI, etc., I joined OpenText because of the need to get access to global competitiveness. I used to work for a local vendor before, and one of the things that I love about this organization is how we've got a global outlook. When we talk about a solution for you, we aren't just talking about South Africa view. We're using, and hence in the room, you've got people from the UAE, from Germany, etc., who come in and they all contribute towards solving problems. Because what we are facing today, in some shape or form, some people have faced it somewhere else. And by the way, organizations like SARS, we see the US can come into South Africa to come and see how we are running our revenue collection services. So it's an exchange that we look into, and it's a global phenomenon of sharing of ideas. That is the concept and maybe the view that I'm always looking at whenever we're faced with a problem and a challenge for you today. So Jen spoke about a whole lot of key things, the topic for today is what is OpenText doing, as a leader and an innovator in the space of the different areas we play in. What are we doing today? What have we done with some of these key changes that are shaping the future? Suren, my leader, by the way, he had the slide come up. And I think for me, I want to contextualize it a little bit differently. I'm going to give you an example because usually this resonates with people. If you go and consider that if there's an accident today that's taking place, the first people typically who are allowed to touch the scene are the South African police services, right? They come there, they take pictures. It could be something serious, something not so serious. After taking pictures, they typically go to their back office and they open up a case. I hope you haven't had dealings with that, but I'm sure you are aware of this. A case. Now, to all of us today, that's just a picture, right? That's just a case file. But in the background, that's content. The picture itself is content. It will move from multiple departments of government as part of this whole case. It will form a file. The case file finds its way to other departments like pathology, like the Department of Justice, etc., because it could be someone who's died at the scene, etc. The point here is the connectedness that takes place throughout this type of a use case. And I'm using public sector and a police example because they're a customer of OpenText today. And most likely you would have all have spent some touch, maybe dealings with the South African police services. The power there is the information that's starting from the picture that's being taken, from the case, from the recording of the minutes, etc. This is all called content. And we as OpenText sees to, support this content, support this process, so that the whole case file gets digitized, because otherwise, how do you link it to all these other departments in government? And they use OpenText for that. For example, the Home Affairs itself, you need to be verified if you're not identifiable, for example, in that scene of a crime. That information that gets verified inside of the Home Affairs is coming and living inside of an OpenText-based technology, right? What I'm trying to highlight here is there's a lot of connectedness that takes place between departments to departments. Information and content actually overlays all of that, and that is the value that we bring into the ecosystem as the OpenText. And for us, That's the power of total reinvention that we're bringing and the total reimagination that we're enforcing and empowering with our customers. Here I'm using some of the typical things like if you're inwards looking at an organization, you typically have got some sort of a CRM application, you've got some sort of a Salesforce application, an ERP application, etc. These are always connected. If you're not connecting this information in your organization, most likely you're missing critical pieces of information to help you gain the needed advantage around your respective space. Let's talk about talent. Maybe here I start to show things to you because I did say I'm going to do some demos, right? Suren earlier on shared a picture of a little lady in his family who's sitting in front of a computer. This is probably uncommon to many of you in the room today. You see a 2-year-old can operate a cell phone quicker than you can. You've seen things like Facebook. Nobody has ever come from Facebook to teach you how to use Facebook, neither Twitter and many other applications, because they designed them with the ability for you to self-learn. This is exactly the kind of things that we look for from a talent perspective at OpenText as an example. We want to help you ensure that you design your systems, your technology, with this kind of thinking in mind. So imagine if the public sector servants never have to worry about getting trained on how to use, maybe their filing system today. That's exactly the kind of thinking. So whenever you're thinking talent, whenever you're thinking reinvention from a talent perspective, you need to think about some of these things that are affecting the young generation that's coming in today. If they're using social media as an everyday thing, that's video technology, that's things that are popping up to them, alerts. You can't then, at the point when they're 10, 21, put them in front of a desk where they have to go find things that they need to do. Nope. They're expecting you to send things that they need to do in an alert format. They don't want you to have to sit in front of a computer and get taught how to use it. They want to look at it and figure out how it works. These are things that we talk about with regards to talent. Let me then just show you what we're doing from an AI perspective inside of OpenText today to empower this. What you see here is what we call the Aviator, and it's working with our service management technology. What you see here is a young individual who's actually looking to find information. Before this, by the way, I don't even know what FMLA is, right, before preparing for this discussion. This is a real thing, by the way. It's a recording that I took up in one of our systems today. Using this chat-like style, we spoke about ChatGPT, right? For those of you who don't know what this is, ChatGPT, and if you don't know, I think you really should be paying attention to that because it's switching how things have been done in the world altogether. It's like when the BlackBerry came on. Remember, before BlackBerry, BlackBerry introduced what we call, and I don't know about the rest of the world, but in South Africa, you used to pay 60 Rand for an unlimited service for you to get access to the internet. Do you remember that time? It changed things for us. You know, I heard Harry speak about Apple. The real change actually started with BlackBerry. They created a bi-directional discussion, and these are things that are happening. We are at a ChatGPT stage, and that is a BlackBerry moment if you really want to think about it now. Now, this ChatGPT thing says that if I've got information, for me to make sense of that information, I shouldn't have to write a report. I shouldn't have to focus on having to write a piece of code to get authentication right, but rather, I can go ask a program, and it will give me the piece of code where it's been done before. The same as your organization. You've got HR policies. These young generations, they want to engage and understand what's happening inside of your HR through an interactive and an exchange in a conversation-like format. So this young gentleman is typing, what is FLMA? Another acronyms for the young people anyways. It's an insertion, it's a type, it's a simple natural language discussion, and what you get to see is, from a ChatGPT-like style, leveraging your own internal content in the organization, we're able to respond to this individual, giving them facts and responses to what they are asking. And if you look at the screenshot earlier on, he also clicks on a referenceability portion. In a world where everyone starts to be able to write pretty much anything onto the internet, it's very difficult for you to trust what's the source of the truth, right? So referenceability becomes a very crucial part of that. I'd love to go into deeper with you on this, but essentially, with everything that you're doing, you need to always come back to asking, where did you find the source for me? So anyways, the system is then able to respond based on HR databases of frequently asked questions of information that's available inside of the organization to say, FLMA is a law that allows you to take X type of leave, and the individual goes as far as say, am I allowed to actually, or is someone who's pregnant able to, partake in this FMLA policy? And the system is able to respond and say, absolutely, you are able to do that. And provided you work for OpenText, we have this policy, but if you're outside of the organization for whatever reason, you should be able to confirm with your HR team and so forth. This is just an example of how people are expecting to be engaging with HR. Let's talk about a current process where you need to confirm something today in most organizations. You log a call. It can take a couple of hours before you get a response. When you've got a response, most likely you've got a follow-on question. You have to log yet another call, and maybe there's no linkage between what you asked before and what you're asking now. So this use case here is highlighting how information is starting to link and making it easy for you to pull information in and out, and by the way, in an anticipant way, because we cannot essentially have reports for everything. So the system and AI allows us to create that element of conversation with our information inside of our organization. Stay with me on that one. I'll share some more examples a bit later to bring the point home. Jen spoke about sustainability. This is a critical thing. All these big organizations are on a drive for it, etc. Well, I'll tell you something. It's very difficult for you to see and confirm that as an end user at the end of the line, right? You're drinking a piece of some juice. How do you know that this juice was created or manufactured in a way that is, if you're a sustainable individual, in a way that it confirms with some of your beliefs? That is what we bring as OpenText into the fold. We allow organizations to be able to measure and prove to pretty much the constituents, to pretty much the consumers, the fact that whatever they are doing at the end of the day is done with a minimization of carbon footprint and reducing of the carbon emissions. Now, I'm not going to focus on this too much, but essentially I'll share two use cases that use pretty much AI to show you how we quickly measure your carbon footprint as an organization. And primarily, this you can start to derive and deduce. For example, we're a tech company. We indirectly also have quite a huge impression and direction around the carbon emissions in the world, because you've got things like servers that are running in the background. How are those servers being cooled? Well, you have to use electricity. If you're using electricity, that means you're indirectly contributing to carbon emissions. So you might not be a direct product of it, but indirectly you're infusing it. And it's important for us to be able to report on the entire value chain to ensure that you are also compliant as an organization. So let's go through the first use case and talk about, very, very high level. I'm technical in nature, right? So, and some of the people in the room will probably appreciate that we need to start going a bit technical to show you how we get these things right. At a very high level, everyone keeps talking about large language models, right? So, for example, we are able to hook into some of your big hyperscalers. We've got 2 in the country, Google coming in hopefully by the end of the year. We work with all of these guys, and we're able to hook into them, pull all data from their different touch points around. If you're, for example, using X footprint inside of Azure, you want to know how are they controlling that in the background, and essentially so you can report on your carbon emission and footprint. So that can easily become an input source for you, but you've also got some of your own internal services that are running internally that we can pull into and pull the data and use what we call the OpenText vertical. Some of you might know this in the room. It's not it's not a new technology. It's quite old. It's growing. It's coming in from the Heritage Micro Focus business. And we've already infused that, which has got a lot of analytics behind it that give you some high-level calculations that are making it easy for you to understand what's coming out from your carbon emissions. And essentially, we pair that up with some of your cloud spend or cost that you might be incurring from an AWS perspective. And at the end of the day, we display everything to you, which you'll see in a moment, with what we call Magellan. These are all the things that you're going to hear about when you go to the booths later. Magellan is our AI-based reporting engine, and it's quite becoming popular across the globe. So at the end of the day, you start to see things like, what's my current carbon emission with my Amazon Web Services-based footprint? Because, the banks today, they'll tell you we will not invest in any one hyperscaler. We want to spread our investment across multiples. How do you then ensure that they're setting up the things in a way that will conform with the things that you're advertising to your consumers? That's what this essentially gives you. If I go on, for some of you in the room, it's very common for us. We go outside, we meet some of the FSI organizations, just met one yesterday. They tell us, look, we went into the cloud, and having gone into the cloud, actually, we find that the costs are running away with us. It's costing us a little too much than we thought. And there's actually a logical reason for this, right? Because when you're on the cloud, you can spin up VMs quicker than you did when you're on-premise, and it just starts to grow and grow and grow. What we're then able to do as well is provide you with a great view of keeping track. So you're a CIO who's embarking on this journey. You had a vision of reducing some of your costs from an infrastructure perspective. This part of our technology allows you to do just that. Put a marker, put a budget and plan, and say, as I'm going into the cloud, I don't want to go beyond this particular point. And it can monitor all of your workloads, give you high-level reports to let you know where you're overspending, underspending, but most importantly, where there's opportunity for you to save some costs. That's essentially what we do for organizations today. All those who are going on the cloud would love to have conversations with you in ensuring that you maintain these types of goals. These are some of the examples. There's, for example, the potential cost savings, and when you drill into that, it goes and shows you, actually, workloads number 3, 4, and 5, they've been running for 7 days, but nobody's actually been working on those VMs. Why are you keeping them up? You're paying AWS unnecessary money when those servers could have been shut down for the 7 days at the time. That's how we deduce these kind of things as an example today. I'm not the technical guy per se. There's Elvin, I'm hoping he's in the room somewhere. Please go find him at the track later to discuss these things a little bit more. Let's then come over and talk about some of the ongoing revolutions that's taking place inside of our industries, and generally South Africa is no different. And we'll again use the example of our SMAX services. This is a chat agent and IT service space. If you look into this, here's a user who's sending in a request today, because automation is becoming a huge part of this, right? Everyone's talking about AI, etc. Let me give you an example of how we are doing this on an everyday basis for organizations today. Typically, you've got someone who's coming in to this landing page. They want to essentially submit a new request, right? What we're then able to do today, in order to move away from typing and explaining what is your problem, etc., this end user has chosen to just take a screenshot of the error that they are getting, and then they click submit. When they do that, immediately they get an immediate response that says your ticket has been logged with us, and they're going to be kept informed around what's happening, essentially. By the way, all of this is automatically available on mobile, right? Because the youth today, they're more into everything must be a pop-up and alert and so forth. So it's working with the mobile in mind. Now, on the other hand, the user is then being kept updated. You know, they've acknowledged that, because lots of popular things that need to take place and so forth, right? They acknowledge that they should be communicated with, etc. Let's then turn the leaf onto the other side. Here's an OpenText guy who's actually providing support. Doesn't have to an OpenText guys, whoever that's providing support to you. This is the screen that they're seeing on the other hand. And I'm going to show you some of the power of AI that we employ in this case. All this user did was insert a screenshot. Said, I've got an issue. What we're then able to do is take that screenshot. It's an image. Remember, we're the best content provider in the world. So for us, an image is a very crucial thing that we actually make full use of. We take this image, we analyze the image, we can scrape off data of it just based on the screenshot. And we pick up quickly an IP address that was part of what the user shared. And based on this IP address, we're then quickly able to see which server is this IP address coming from. This is, by the way, automation on the other end, where the person inside who's supposed to provide a service is just looked at this and the system's already told them that the server has got a problem is exactly why, right? And all of this is being done just purely from that little bit of a server. What else are we able to do with this kind of information inside of an organization? We've identified the server. It's server X. This server could be linked to multiple others as anything else, right? If you've got an Apache server, it must be talking to something else, and so forth and so forth. And with one component being down, most likely all these other ones are starting to go down or start to have some challenges. And what we're showing you here, automatically, the system has been able to go and pick up in the background which other servers are linked to this one. What's the impact of this downtime or this error that this user has now sent out? If you go further to that, we've got a tree-like view that shows you all the different areas that are impacted by this type of a setup. These are services, if you're running a bank, that could be affected. On the right-hand side, we start to anticipate all other calls that will come from an indirect service that might be down because of the one area that was down. And that's what you start to see here. And we can immediately start to create an automated email that says, hey, this application is down. There's 10 other affected applications. If you're logging a call with any of these other 10 affected applications, we can revert back to you and let you know immediately. It's got to do with that first issue that was logged. You don't need to know the details. All you need to know is that it's currently down and we are working on it, and the SLA of coming back to you is X and Y. Automatically. Automatically. Let's jump over to the next phase. This is an example of a good aviator use case here. We've got a user who's coming in, yet again, using our service management application. They click on the agent, and just bear with me here, because I need to work on the clicking thing. They click on the agent, and you'll start to understand, yet again, the need for you to be able to have an exchange with your applications. They come in here, and they search for a particular topic. So I'm a support consultant. I've just received a call, and the customer is extremely difficult. I'm failing you at the job. Could you please help me out? Very quickly, a source comes up, gives him a couple of tips around how you can handle and work with this particular customer, remain calm, remain factual, provide feedback, etc. This is all coming from your own internal database that you would have been working with. If you're a government, you've obviously got a database and things that you've been noting over the years that you want to actually use and empower people with getting access to information. Then we speak about other things. Is there a webmail outage? Because, yeah, I've been getting calls that talk about something, this webmail is out, right? Because I'm an internal employee inside of the organization who's wanting to connect everything. This is how we basically provide that connection. It then lets them know that absolutely, based on the issues that are happening inside of our IT department today, there is a service that's down, and you can expect that it's going to be up at a particular time. This is all happening in an interactive exchange with information coming to the user in a contextual manner, as opposed to saying, send me a log of this, update me on that, provide me with your contact details, etc. This is all happening essentially in the background. Now, what I'm just sharing with you are all teasers of what's actually planned in our track sessions that are taking place after lunch. Don't worry, after lunch. So we've got 2 tracks, and I think we had a large discussion with Tsepa yesterday around this to say, I'm going to have to use the words the business value stream, and let me denote that and say for the people in the room, when we talk about the business value stream, we're referring to the traditional open text, the content world, as you might know. So that's the track and the set of that. And I want to highlight that it's not just us talking on these tracks. You're going to be hearing from our customers. Central is going to be talking at the track that I'll be chairing up a bit later, and they'll speak about how OpenText has helped them keep abreast on keeping our Central Rand roads pothole-free. Right? I don't want to talk about the other roads. Then we're going to have a session that's going to be chaired and led by our SARS team. Thabo from my team will run that one. We've got a customer who's speaking about how is it that SARS is able to communicate with you. They're able to find you and collect the revenue from you at any one point in time. They use the OpenText technology to do this, the customer communications element of packaging your statement, the communications via email, via SMS, all correspondent is done on OpenText. So you're going to hear from Feroz at SARS who's going to discuss this. Then we've got a customer, I think is still in the room, AECI. Yes, Ntsari Singh is here today. This is a customer that is in the manufacturing space. They'll share some of the journeys we've shared between them and one of our leading partners, SAP, in catapulting their business to the next journey altogether. She's going to be sharing some of the things we're doing at an innovative level, and you're going to hear from what she has to say there. Then we've got Subin who's talking about the AI world. Arno spoke about this earlier on. This is the track that really goes deep into some of the things that I've been touching on. Mine are just recorded screenshot. Subin has got access to the actual demo databases, etc., to showcase some of these things with you as part of this discussion. And in there, we use some real-life examples from one of the banks, which will be displayed by one of our partners, Ray Fernandez, who's coming from Datafinity. That name was escaping me now. I hope he's not in the room. Then we come over to the heritage microfocus, the traditional microfocus, which is now no longer. It's now OpenText. But from a solution stack, the solution offers that would come from that business are being handled inside of track number 2. We're going to have the first session that's going to be led by Kevin and one of our customers from the University of Pretoria. They're going to talk to you about what they are doing and how they've really, really changed the face of education inside of UP. Please go visit them. Then we're going to have a second section, which will be led by Jacques from my team. Yes, in here we're going to have our customer Pick and Pay. They're doing some amazing thing around the application development lifecycle space. Really, really cool for you to go and see. You know, Pick and Pay was a good reference for us, and in there we had a huge myriad of customers. We could have gone to the banks, because they rely on us to test. Can you imagine how many people are interacting with the bank during Black Friday, during December times, and they trust us to help them check how, are they scaled right from a performance perspective without having to spend an invested view of having 10,000 people connect at the same time. We're able to imitate the type of a view with our application development systems around testing particularly. Then we're going to speak about our, we all spoke about this whole world of AI, introduces a whole lot of risks, for the business. So the cyber res side of our organization will be led by Kobus and the team, and you're going to hear from our customer from MTN there, who shares how they are basically curbing some of the cyber res challenges and from a security of a digital footprint. And then finally, you're going to be hearing more about protecting your data from Kevin Kemp, who's running our, the guys who've got those IBM-based applications, Kevin Kemp will be touching some of those areas around protecting that endpoint with the respective of the AMC solution sets from IBM. Yep. Aki?
Tubbs, thank you very much. Thanks very much to Jen as well. Give them a round of applause, please.
Thank you very much.